Hello everyone, I'm Dr. K. Today we're going to discuss a very practical economic analysis framework. The economy may seem complex, but in reality, it operates like a machine. Understanding it not only helps us predict risks, but also seize opportunities. The essence of the economy can be broken down into simple components. Once you understand how these components work, you can grasp the full picture of how the economy functions. The most basic unit of the economy is the transaction. Every purchase, every sale is essentially a part of the economic machine. Transactions may seem simple, but they are the core of understanding how the economy operates. Today I'll guide you through transactions, credit, productivity, short-term debt cycles, and long-term debt cycles, so you can see the entire economic machine in motion. In essence, the economy is the sum of countless transactions. In every transaction, a buyer exchanges money or credit for goods, services, or assets. Total spending is the driving force of the economy, and prices are simply total spending divided by quantity sold. In other words, every time you buy or sell something, you are contributing to the operation of the economic machine. Understanding transactions is the key to understanding the economy at its most fundamental level. Markets are made up of all the buyers and sellers of a specific product, such as wheat, cars, or stocks. By summing the total spending and total sales across all markets, we can understand the overall economy. Individuals, businesses, banks, and governments all participate in transactions in the same way, though governments have special roles, central banks, and fiscal spending, that give them a deeper influence. Governments regulate the economy through taxes and spending, while central banks influence credit through interest rates and money supply, which in turn affects spending and investment. Credit is the most important part of the economy because it allows spending to exceed income. Borrowing means consuming today and repaying in the future. Higher income leads to better credit, which increases borrowing, which increases spending, which increases someone else's income, creating a self-reinforcing loop. For example, if you earn $100,000 a year and borrow $10,000, your spending becomes someone else's income. That person can then borrow and spend, creating a multiplying effect that amplifies economic activity. This is why credit can rapidly drive economic growth. Credit drives growth, but it also brings cyclical fluctuations. Credit isn't inherently bad. The key is how it's used. Borrowing that increases productivity and income is good credit, while borrowing for unproductive consumption is bad credit. For instance, borrowing to buy a big screen TV doesn't increase income and may make debt harder to repay. Bad credit. Borrowing to buy a tractor that produces crops, generating income to repay the loan and improve living standards, is good credit. In the long run, economic growth depends on productivity. Productivity determines living standards over time, while short-term debt cycles are mainly driven by credit. Hard work and innovation raise productivity, increasing output and driving long-term growth. In the short term, productivity fluctuations are limited, but in the long term, they are critical. Understanding the interplay between productivity and credit is key to understanding the economic machine. Short-term growth relies on credit. Long-term growth relies on productivity accumulation. Short-term debt cycles usually last 5 to 8 years. As credit expands, spending increases and prices rise. This is inflation. When central banks see rising inflation, they raise interest rates. Borrowing becomes more expensive, spending decreases, and the economy slows down, entering a recession. The economy works like a machine. Abundant credit leads to expansion, restricted credit leads to contraction. Short-term debt cycles are primarily controlled by central banks and are key to economic fluctuations. Long-term debt cycles last roughly 75 to 100 years. Human nature drives continuous borrowing, eventually leading to excessive debt. Deleveraging is a critical phase in long-term debt cycles, and it involves 4 main measures: cutting spending, restructuring or defaulting on debt, redistributing wealth, and central banks issuing more money. Mishandling this phase can trigger severe recessions or social unrest. During deleveraging, cutting spending reduces income, which further decreases spending, creating a vicious cycle. Debt restructuring or defaults can relieve debt burdens but reduce asset values and income. Wealth redistribution transfers resources from the rich to the poor, partially restoring consumption capacity. Central bank money creation can replace lost credit, stimulating spending and economic activity. The key to managing deleveraging is balancing these four measures. Spending cuts and debt reduction are austerity measures that may create deflationary pressure. Money creation and wealth redistribution stimulate the economy and increase income and spending. Coordinating these measures allows for a harmonious deleveraging, avoiding a severe depression. History shows that mishandled deleveraging has serious consequences. The 1929 U.S. Great Depression and Germany's 1930s hyperinflation were caused by excessive debt and poor policy decisions. Conversely, proper handling allows slow economic recovery while reducing debt burdens, a gradual recovery following a lost decade. To understand the economic machine, remember three practical rules. Don't let debt grow faster than income. Otherwise, debt burdens will eventually crush you. Don't let income grow faster than productivity. Otherwise, long-term competitiveness declines. Focus on improving productivity because it drives long-term growth in living standards. For example, if you earn $100,000 per year and borrow $10,000 to buy a machine that generates $50,000 in income, you can repay the debt and improve your living standards. This shows how strategic borrowing and investment can amplify economic activity. Conversely, blindly borrowing for unproductive purchases increases debt burden and risk. Another example is the housing market. Rising prices encourage borrowing to buy more property, increasing short-term spending. But when debt becomes too high and income cannot cover interest, deleveraging occurs, causing prices to crash and the market to shrink, clearly seen in the 2008 global financial crisis. Thus, understanding the economy is less about analyzing complex data and more about observing how transactions, credit, and productivity interact. Short-term debt cycles show economic ups and downs. Long-term debt cycles highlight debt accumulation. Risks. Productivity growth determines long-term potential. The economy may seem complex, but at its core it's simple: transactions, spending, credit, and productivity. Mastering these allows you to understand why economies prosper, why they fall, and why deleveraging occurs. Most people, including many policymakers, don't pay enough attention to these principles. I hope this framework helps you understand the economy, anticipate trends, and manage risks. In conclusion, the economy works like a machine. Transactions are the parts, credit is the lubricant, productivity is the engine, and debt cycles are the gears. Understand them, and you'll see the mechanics of economic operations and make smarter decisions. Thank you, everyone.